Candyman. 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 Candyman.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Victims and Villains. My name is Captain Nostalgia. I have the privilege of being one of the podcasters and writers here on staff. If you guys are new to Victims and Villains, we are a nonprofit and publication which creates content like the one you're watching right now, simply to educate and engage individuals on mental health awareness and suicide prevention through pop culture. And much like the intro to this video suggests, we are going to be talking about the 2021 spiritual sequel / soft reboot of Candyman. Side note, if you guys need more Candyman content, click the links in the descriptions below and check out our episode on the original 1992 film. This Candyman completely ignores Death to Flesh and Day of the Dead. Side note, those are the second and third installments, and much like this movie ignores them, so should you. It tells the story of Anthony, who is a struggling painter, think writer's block but in painting form. He is played marvelously by Yayha Abdul-Mateen II, and I'll talk about him in just a few more minutes. Basically, Anthony stumbles upon the legend of Candyman, and from hearing about the legend, he actually becomes increasingly just obsessed with the legend. That's about all I want to say, because I want you to be as unspoiled with this plot as possible. Yes, there are some moments within the film where you're like, I could probably see and understand where this film is going, but honestly, Candyman is one of those movies that the less you know, the better the third act and climax of this movie affects you. Much like I said, Yayha Abdul-Mateen II delivers another just knockout dynamic performance for this one, following powerhouse performances in Watchmen and Aquaman as well. Seeing him in a horror role, he just really knocks it out of the park. He gives the character levity and emotion that is so needed to really make this movie so effective. Much like his performance, this narrative is heavily heartbreaking. Much like its source material, this film hinges and rides and is just a social commentary for gentrification, racism, and just racial injustice and period. The film's final frame is actually a link, which I will provide in the descriptions below, where you guys can actually hear and understand a little bit more about racial injustice and how you can help get involved. Honestly, I really love how they paid homage to the original 1992 film while also expanding the mythology of this. For so long, Tony Todd and the Candyman franchise have just been synonymous and interchangeable. What Nia DaCosta does here with this film, though, in particular, is that much like the way that every generation has seen its own degree of racism, she gives us a Candyman figure for every generation. Not only does this help the themes of racial injustice become more potent and effective, but she also refreshes the complete mythology of what we know to be Candyman. That's honestly one of the most refreshing things of all. When it comes to thematics, this is one of the heaviest movies I've seen this year. And I don't say that's a bad thing as well. This is easily one of the best movies I've seen this year. And I was a very big component back in May when Spiral was released. I personally really love Saw. But what Spiral tried to do with its own commentary on police brutality and racial injustice didn't quite work with its ties to the franchise of Saw. However, DaCosta and Peele, the story that they craft here, it's rich, it's heartbreaking, and honestly, it's extremely effective. The pacing of this movie is just tremendously well done. Just the way that they continuously build up these characters and pour into them and really deconstruct a lot of the events of the first film and bring it into this new era really helps make this film just easily one of the best horror movies of this year. For this film's mental health moment, I want to address stigma for a second. When the film opens up, there is a new generation of people that we are following, and they've never actually heard of the story of Candyman. As I said, our main character, Anthony, just happens to hear it, and it's this happenstance that just derails him into a complete spiral for the next 90 minutes. There are certain sequences in this film where characters hear the name Candyman, and there's quickly a stigma that's placed up around it. They don't want to hear or acknowledge his name. And similarly, we do that very thing when it comes to mental health. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to act about it when we all have mental health, good days and bad days, when we all have potentially been depressed at some point in our lives. Some of us may even have considered or even thought about suicide. And yet we still have this stigma that remains. And so we have to deconstruct it. And much like Anthony's quest for the truth to deconstruct the reality and get to the bottom of who Candyman is, we need to equally be willing to deconstruct the stigma around mental health and embrace the conversation. And to quote our friends over at American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, seize the awkward. With that said, if you or someone you know is watching this right now and you're struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression, please reach out. Suicide is currently the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. There are 129 suicides as of this recording that take place. And when you look to international numbers, there are 800,000 successful suicides. That is one death roughly every 40 seconds. So if you or someone you know is struggling, consider the resources we have in the descriptions. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, if you guys are watching this on Instagram, television, check the links in our bio. Please stay with us. This is the reason we create content. We want to deconstruct the stigma around both Candyman and mental health. We're all in this together, and you're not alone. Thank you guys for watching, and if you guys have seen Candyman, make sure that you guys comment below and let me know what you guys thought about it. Oh, you're still here. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot to give a rating. I got so excited talking about this movie, I forgot to give a rating. 4 or 5. Make sure that you guys check out our episode next week. Subscribe to the podcast, wherever you guys get your podcasts from. Links are in the descriptions below. Have a great day.